Morning, guys. Today I just wanted to make a quick vlog update about my newly updated rose tattoos on my neck. We had a big session, took about 4 hours. I really wanted to get it all done in one go. I had the inside of my throat lined and these leaves added last time, and so we shaded the old roses that I added a few weeks back. Don't know if that shows that one off. We shaded the rosebud, this rose, and of course the leaves for this rose. They go up all the way behind my ear. We did all of that in one session. It was actually quite a bit of work. Um, really tricky. It's really hard to see what you're doing in areas like this. It was easier to shade my hand. For reference, it'll look a little bit like this, but we went a little bit darker with the roses on my neck because my neck is darker. My neck is darker than my hand was. So what we had to do was be a little bolder in order for these to show up better. This, we could leave more breathing space because the older work was a bit grayer than my neck was. My neck is one of the darker spots of my Blackout. But anyway, anytime you're working in an area like we have this under chin here, it shades everything. So the light would change and all of a sudden we kind of lose what we're doing. So there was quite a bit of moving around and light play shifting during this session, and also having to keep my neck at different angles throughout the whole thing. Sometimes I was sitting up, sometimes I'm laying down again. Just whenever the light would shift, it was really hard to keep kind of what we were doing locked in. But they came out really cool and way better than I ever would have even expected. We're getting better at this as we go, I feel like obviously not me like tattooing, but like the understanding of it overall. Me as a canvas and me and my artist doing them. We're getting better at figuring this out as we go, and we're getting more ambitious as we go. So with that said, I wanted to get all of this done in one session because I was really eager to, in 2 weeks from now, get started on my torso. And I'm now thinking even bolder than I was last time I talked about my future torso plans. I'm now starting to think I want to make this probably one of the most ambitious pieces in the entire world. Is now my scope of it. That might sound crazy to consider that because my whole torso is blacked out for the most part, except like my chest and my eye on my chest/stomach area. But with what we've been able to achieve here and how realistic these look, even though there's quite a bit of glare from, I have a little bit of aquaphor on them right now. They're a bit shiny, but the amount of detail and how much they stand out, like I'm starting now to think like it's time to go. If this is going to be my last torso piece, then let's go, crazy with it. When I did my first torso, the original tentacles and all that stuff, it was about a year I was working on it. Every week we would do something on it every week, even if it was a small session. Some weeks were less than others, but sometimes you'd sit for an hour, sometimes you'd sit for 4. That's where I'm going with this next torso. I want to incorporate all of this area that's blacked out is going to be lined all the way from my chest all the way down to below my waist. We're going to be creating new images with black on black, some white on black, and a whole lot of line weights and lengths. Lots of dots. Yeah, it's going to be quite the undertaking. I've seen a lot of the reference already for what we're doing. And it's going to be a lot meaner and a lot nastier looking than my old torso was. So for the people who really like my old work, and I know there's a lot of them out there, my new work is going to be kind of like the Blackout suit meeting the old suit. Almost like where two roads diverge when I blacked out my old suit, as opposed to fixing up the old tentacles and trying to make them better. Now, those two roads are meeting in a way. It's almost like taking both paths, but only now I get to recreate them in a way that I find aesthetically more pleasing and also more suiting to me. And it's going to be really cool to be able to play with the contrast and bring those tentacles to life on an all black canvas. And I think where I'm about to go with this is going to dramatically change the public perception of what I've done too. I've already experienced this to a lesser extent with like the hand rose and the moon, and these roses as they've been like adding them. I've been getting more people kind of seeing the potential of this, but like I've kept it pretty quiet. I haven't showed them off too much. Like I just recently showed off the lines for this on my Instagram, um, because I just don't feel like people have the understanding of these big projects. I've talked about this lots before. You kind of have to to show them once it's already done. People don't see the grand scope until then. It's like every step of the way while I was blacking out, the only thing people could imagine was that I was just going to keep blacking things out and then finally be fully black and that's it. When I always had a grander idea ahead. I didn't always know what it looked like at the end. All I knew is that once I'm done blacking out things, I'm not finished. So what am I going to do next? It was always that. It was always eyes ahead. And a lot of people would comment things like, are you going to do white over black? Lots of cool stuff is being done with white over black. Are you going to do any of that? And I never really liked that idea as much as going even darker. I get now people asking me if I would like to do any color over black or anything like that, and I have seen some really cool color over black healed, but that's not really the direction I want to go in either. So it is primarily going to be done black on black and playing with contrast that way, playing with the existing black and using that as the light source. And it's pretty funny to consider when most of me has been blacked out several times that we're still able to achieve darker blacks. And that's, a testament to both the artists that I've worked with and also just the way that black settles. I get a lot of people asking me if this stuff is going to last long term, if it's going to be, this good over time. And the way I've seen black on black ink settle and heal is the existing work lightens at the same pace as the new black. And so in that way, as ink fades, it does so proportionally. So as this gets lighter over the years, say 10, whatever, 20 years, the underneath will be lighter as well. So this image will largely maintain. It doesn't just like blob up into the same thing. It's always really funny to me. I've got a few people who have said, oh, I can't even see the rose. Where is the rose? It's not there. Well, yeah, it is clearly there. There's going to always be people who don't appreciate this art, and that's fine. But it is subtle. Like, you're not going to see it, say, on my podcast. You can't really see at least the outlines. I don't know about this shaded in roses. I don't know what those are going to show up like. But you can't really see it on my podcast because the camera's quite far away. So there's this interesting mind game, even for me, where I'm like, how visible are they? There's a lot of subtlety to what this is, which is actually kind of a nice thing for me because I always felt like my old suit was way too flashy, way too like candy almost, like bubblegum. I don't know. It felt too loud. And the more subtle approach is definitely more for me. Anyway, yeah, big plans coming up right away here. So the next vlog progress update I'll be posting. I think I'll have the bones of the next torso in, but as I said, I think I'll be working on that for most of the year, if not longer, because I'm only doing two a month now. So my progress will be a bit slow on that. So I won't be showing it off too much on social media until there's quite a bit done, probably, because people just don't get it. They'll see the lines and, well, what are you doing? You're ruining the Blackout now. That'll be the next thing. People will be, who love the Blackout, will be, you're ruining the Blackout. It was so cool and it was solid black. People have an odd attachment to other people's projects. I've found it's been really interesting for me, because when I started blacking out, people were angry that I was covering up my old work, and now I've even had some people who are angry that I'm covering up the Blackout. So people are just, they get oddly attached to things. It's very strange. I mean, I can appreciate that people like my tattoos, but some of them like them more than even I do, which is odd. But in terms of pain, this was mostly dotted. There was some relining we thickened up some lines. The shading, obviously, with some different mag groupings. I don't actually know what he used this time, but dots are pretty painless. That's about as easy as it's going to get for me. I find dotting is, I could sit probably for 10 to 20 hours of dot shading. It's really, really easy on the skin. I feel like I didn't feel too sore afterwards. Even the lining of them, I felt way more sore. There's a different soreness that I experience with dot shading and lining. I've spoken about before, where with dot shading and lining, I feel more like sunburnt or raked or something like that. It feels more sharp after. Where with the mag, like with the Blackout, which I really feel is much more painful. I've said this before, but I feel like Blackout tattoos are much more painful overall than traditional style tattooing, just because of the consistent pummeling you get with a mag. It never seems to end. Whereas with regular tattoos, you have a lot of needle grouping changes, and there's a lot of breathers in there. It just doesn't feel as focused of a barrage. Anyway, yeah, when I get blacked out, it feels more like you're getting bruised by it by the end, where with this, it feels more like a sunburn. So it's been interesting for me to have the change of pace, and it kind of feels like it's all new again. But at the same time, there's this hardened, sort of calloused appreciation of every part of it that I didn't have on my first suit, where I was experiencing everything for the first or second time during my first bodysuit. So it was all very new. Now, here I am experiencing things for the 7th, 8th, 10th, whatever time. And I know exactly what feeling to expect from just about every area that we're in. There's almost no surprises. It's almost like you're saying hello to an old familiar friend, something like that. So like, you do have an appreciation, and I found that helpful. Like, I know what I'm in for when I get my throat tattooed. I know what I'm in for when I get my throat lined, like that stuff. Where before it was all like, oh, this is new. How do I deal with this? My throat has now been done, I believe, 10 times. I think that's the 10th time I've had my throat tattooed. And my neck and stuff like that, they've all been double digits now. After this work, the 3 times I blacked it out, the bunch of times that I extended the work further up, the bunch of times that I touched up my neck, I am happy to say that I don't feel like I got any more scarring from any of these recent sessions, as everything that was done gently enough that I don't really feel like there's any more scarring created in my neck. But definitely throughout some of the earlier blackouts and some of my older ink, my neck got really scarred. There was a line in the center of my throat before. It was like a ring, and I was trying to get rid of that for years. It was the clasp of my old tattoo that I had on my throat first, and it just kept coming back out. And I always thought maybe it wasn't fully saturated, but it was. It's been fully saturated for a long time. It's just sometimes you can still see the scar underneath, like it's scarification in the form of a ring. And where it was lined poorly, and so that scar would never go away, no matter how many times I tried to black it out. But now, having added this rosebud here, it masks it. So if you really look for it, still you can probably still see that ring of scar in there, but now it's been covered by a new tattoo in a way that it won't be visible anymore. So there's something very cathartic in that for me. And if for only that reason, this was the right way to go. Because sometimes if work is scarred bad enough, it's hard to hide the old look of it completely. No matter how many coats of black you put over it, you will have like a little bit of scarring still showing through. So sometimes this is the proper thing to do in those cases. Not that everyone's going to go this far, but it is a good route if you're asking me for my 2 cents. I've had a few people comment that this rose would look better if I put a little bit of white into it, to just around the edges or something to make it pop more. That's still on the table. It's definitely a possibility. I don't know if I'll do that or not, but this is again part of the reason I don't like sharing things on Instagram, is I can speak about it here at some length. Just because this is finished for now doesn't mean it's finished forever. And most people see a picture and they think, "Oh, that's complete." But that's not how I am. Everything is always getting worked on. So if sometime I want to add some more contrast to this or make it pop more, that's definitely on the table. I'm now doing what I'd like to think is my final work on each area kind of thing. And so touch-ups and little small changes are definitely on the table. So going forward, there may be some spots for white in all of these projects to make them pop more. But for now, it's primarily going to be black on black, and maybe just a bit of white on black here and there. I have some bicep pieces I want to do in white on black, because my biceps are about as dark as anything on me, and I think that white will really show up on them great, where black would be a bit more subtle. So just about knowing which ink will highlight each area of the body better, and then going ahead with that. Anyway, that's where I'm at this week, and hope you found this video in some way informative or interesting, and I'll talk to you again soon.